Hello guys, my name is Anna and I'm a Ukrainian, and I have decided to vlog daily since the start of the soulful war with Russia. And in my videos I tell you the things that we Ukrainians consider important, and I'm always glad to answer your questions. Also, I'm very grateful for this kind of conversation that we have under each video, and I value your stories. I love reading them, some memories, the jokes that you send, and I feel like special community around this channel. This inspires me even more. And I do plan that we will have this live session, but many of you advise to get a moderator. I understand that some of you dislike the idea, but I do not plan to filter normal questions or complicated questions. It is just for the sake of protection from Russian trolls, and I do think such people, or not even people, can interfere. And I have posted a photo on my channel to provide you with the information that we will postpone that live chat, and some of the comments that I received was that I look too relaxed on that photo. And I have decided to dedicate today's vlog to the conversation. What is it like to live in the country at war? And how do you change, and can you still smile or enjoy your food? Because this is actually something I think a lot about, and maybe this vlog will remind a conversation with a psychotherapist. We don't have this culture of communication with psychologists and psychotherapists much in Ukraine. It changes within the last decades, and I personally think this is a very good experience, but it is not yet that popular here, and people often substitute such conversations with a conversation with relatives, friends, and it does not always work out. Or well, I have recently come across one quote on Facebook that I loved a lot. It was about one person who came from Irpin to Kyiv, and that person loved reading war books of Remarque. But when he was reading these books, he said he was always surprised, and he thought that Remarque was not very professional, because in his novels he could depict war, and then some of his heroes during the wartime would enjoy sunset or drink coffee, and then one day when his city was at war and all Ukraine goes through this experience, he felt that he wants coffee in a coffee shop, and it was open, and he was drinking that coffee, and he was like, that was one of the tastiest coffees in his life. So to tell you the truth, of course, all of my experiences will be very subjective. Plus, I live in a semi-dangerous zone where we have victims, we have soldiers, we have refugees, we have missiles attacks, but we don't have Russian troops on the streets, and we are not under occupation, and I'm confident we won't be. But all the feelings that we have, very often they are very extreme. And there are memes that demonstrate this emotional roller coasters. When you, for example, learn some news and you feel totally depressed and devastated. For example, when you see photos and you watch videos and updates on Mariupol. Then you learn more about Lend-Lease and sinking of Moskva and other things, and you feel extremely joyful and excited. So it happens many times during the day. And in general, there are lots of things that change in the way you think. I know what anxiety is, and I know that one of the rituals that help me when I'm worried about something minor is I tell myself, well, this is something extraordinary, nothing that extraordinary happened. And now all of us Ukrainians cannot use this recipe to calm ourselves down, because a full-scale war in the center of Europe, in a country that actually did nothing against its neighbor, is a proof that very extraordinary things happen. We often joke, we say, okay, we have a president who was a comedian and no one could imagine him a president, but now he's doing great job. Then we had 2 years of COVID epidemic, something that our parents, grandparents did not experience, and now we have full-scale war. So if someone tells me that aliens can land in the center of my city, I won't be that skeptical, because we start thinking maybe it's possible. So this feeling that everything is possible leads to the fact that you don't have much control over your life. And perhaps this is true. And somehow we deceive ourselves that we can control our health, our, I don't know, relationship. Of course, there are lots of things we can do, but there are also lots of things that we cannot. And now, being inside of the country at war, you do realize that there are rules that can help you, but it's not always working. For example, when the couple of days there was an air attack on Kyiv, and one person died. This was a pretty famous journalist and a producer from Radio Svoboda, Radio Freedom. And like for a very long period of time, there were no missiles on Kyiv, and she died when she was hiding in a corridor. And we are all instructed to hide in corridors because they have double walls, and this can protect you better if you don't have enough time to run in a bomb shelter. So this is a demonstration, like, you cannot predict this happening, you cannot protect yourself fully. And the fact that all of these extreme things happen all around you leads to some stronger decisions, more emotional decisions. Definitely more people are getting married here. Lots of people are getting married, and they have even allowed this distant marriage, something that was not allowed in Ukraine before. So like, the man is in the armed forces, then via Skype or whatever they can get married. And lots of people like become more generous, or the dreams that we have and we believe we will be able to fulfill them after we win, they become more like brave, just not like to do the repairments in your house, but like to travel around the world or whatever. Also, many at the beginning, like, we were all depressed, and now there are lots of people who take even better care of themselves, like more women with red lipstick. And I was surprised to read about that in Churchill's memories about the Second World War, that he allowed women to wear red lipstick, and they spent money on that, and they continued to produce it because it led to more strength and beauty all around. Of course, it's not very serious, but it works to some extent. And people also often feel guilty. Those people who survive, those people who, for example, I have no problems with shower, I have no problems with food, I have no problems with internet, and I can speak to you. And there are lots of people who don't have this possibility in my country, people who had this possibility 2 months ago. And personally, I try to make myself think in a more constructive way, like, what can I do to make my country win? How can I support people? Where can I donate money? Or can I tell something to the people outside Ukraine? And this is how I calm myself down, because once again, I don't like feeling a weak victim, even when all of us are victims right now. And also, the information that you get from everywhere is totally different from the one that you've used to. For example, there are many advertisements of various protection things, like evacuation kilts, and there are lots of courses all around, medical courses, and I have lots of people visiting them right now. Also, there are advice how to drive a car in the occupied zone, or how to explain to your children that they have to hide in a bomb shelter, something that was totally unbelievable for me a couple of years ago. When I woke up this morning and scrolled my Facebook, I saw lots of pictures of Hitler, and I was like, what's going on? And it was because many Ukrainians were trying to remind Putin what to do. Today, many years ago, on the 30th of April, Hitler committed suicide. and we were trying to persuade Putin to do the same. And there were lots of funny posters, telling you can. There is one phrase that Russians often repeat when they threaten other people. They try to connect their memories to the victory in the Second World War, and they often say, "We can repeat, we can repeat." And so this posters, they were telling like, Putin, you can repeat. You should repeat what Hitler did to himself, because personally I see this is the only possible solution. And also, when we speak about the victim of this war, there are lots of people who had so many beautiful plans, and I personally always feel sorry when I learn the stories of these people. For example, a couple of days ago, I have read about one man. I have never heard of him before, but he turned out to be a popular wine producer, and he was growing wines, and he was like trying to introduce new kinds of wine. And when you look at his work, you look at his wine cellars, you realize that like they destroy much of this human potential. And of course, this is a true tragedy, and behind all of this victims, there are humans, there are stories, there are beautiful stories, beautiful dreams. And once again, that brings you to the extreme when you want to try everything, when you want to become stronger, braver, and this kind of things. So I can tell you that we do feel very unhappy very often, and we do feel very happy when something happens, when we believe in our own victory, or when we finally see that people support us and we get weapons. I honestly love watching videos of Ukrainian armed forces shooting with laser weapons and all that fashionable weapons that our supporters brought us. I love watching that. Never before did I care about stuff like that, but now I love watching, and there are lots of videos that demonstrate how they destroy Russian helicopters, Russian planes, Russian tanks, and all of that is very high technological weapons. And there are lots of videos like that, and I can spend like an evening watching that. And also, we feel very strong and very brave, and we feel very vulnerable. And there are moments when you want to take a photo of yourself wearing the uniform of the Ukrainian armed forces. And there are moments when you think, oh my God, this is so stupid, because there are children in the cellars of Azovstal. There are moments when you want to buy and bring something very tasty for your mom because you want to make her happy. You want to make her forget about war for an hour. And then you realize that like you don't have to spend money on something extra. For example, we had this dry law, something like that. We were not allowed to buy alcohol when the war started, and people did not do anything to avoid this rule. And then they returned back alcohol because it was needed for taxes, for the economy of the country. And it was even funny because once again there were lots of jokes that like when a husband buys wine, you don't have to quarrel with him because he does not buy it for himself, but he buys to support the Ukrainian armed forces. But lots of people, like for example, I don't drink wine or champagne or anything until we win. Perhaps I will get drunk after we win, but there are small things that you just like tell yourself not to do because like it's not okay. And definitely you are not buying some expensive things. But at the same time, there are lots of people who do repairments everywhere. And I think this also brings confidence because if they are repairing their houses, they believe we will win. And I was also fascinated with the information that in those cities like Irpin and Bucha that are associated with totally awful crimes of Russian regime, people are planting flowers, people are planting some agricultural things, so they want to return back to life. They don't think it's all temporary. We are here forever. This is our land. This is our independent country. And all of these things, they bring optimism. Not many people even realize what they are doing, but these small things, the small repayments, the small purchases, they are important both for the moral and spiritual state, and also for the economy. So, for example, in my region, there are lots of new plants and factories and organizations and firms that come here to work and to stay for a certain period of time, and we are very much encouraged like to earn more to be able to support the other parts of the country. So maybe that is too much for psychotherapy session, but I can tell you that all Ukrainians are united in their desire to win, and despite the fact that we feel very bad very often, we feel strong and we realize that this is a very important war. We did not want this war, but now that we have it, we must win, and we are very grateful for the weapons, for the understanding, for your conversation, for your fights with those trolls. And thank you for being with me. Thank you for watching these videos. Thank you for your subscriptions. And Slava Ukraini!